Oh.
Thanks for waking up with us.
Now, as you see from the title of the video, we're going to be talking about this whole thing about Harvard recently coming out and committing $100 million. There's a lot of manipulation going on with this. There's a lot they are omitting from this. And it's a whole bunch of bull jive. A whole bunch of bull jive. I think I'm going to title this something like The Truth About Harvard Committing $100 Million Black Slave Masters Hidden Behind White Supremacy. We got to go read this. Observations Concerning the Increase of Mankind, 1751. Benjamin Franklin. Now, Benjamin Franklin didn't want the slaves to come over to America. He'd be like, let's bring our own people over here. Now we go right here where it said the introduction of slaves. The Negroes brought into the English sugar islands have greatly diminished the whites there. Now, remember from my previous sermons, you have to discern who they're talking about and what they're talking about when they say whites. Are they talking about the whites that we know about in regards to who was called the ancient white race way back then? And some of you know what I'm talking about if you listen to the sermons. That's why I be saying that. Y'all be asking me these different questions, and the questions are answered in the video. But most of you aren't watching it because the average duration for one of my videos is only 9 minutes. And then you get upset at me if I don't want to answer your questions. I can tell if you ain't watched the video, man. Like, come on, why y'all trying to play me like that? You're not really playing me, you're playing the Holy Spirit. But, or are they talking about the whites in regards to who they define as white, meaning their own people? The poor are, by this means, deprived of employment, while a few families acquire vast estates, which they spend on foreign luxuries and educating their children in the habit of those luxuries. How they get money. The same income is needed for the support of one that might have maintained 100. The whites who have slaves, not laboring, are enfeebled and therefore not so generally prolific. The slaves being worked too hard and ill-fed. Their constitutions are broken and the deaths among them are more than the births, so that a continual supply is needed from Africa. The northern colonies, having few slaves, increase in whites. Slaves are also pejorate. Slaves also how you say this? Pejorate. Probably pronouncing it wrong, but hey, y'all bear with the brother. I don't act like I know how to pronounce every word I read. The families that use them, the white children become proud, disgusted with labor, and being educated in idleness, are rendered unfit to get a living by industry. Hence, the prince that acquires new territory, if he finds it vacant, or removes the natives to give his own people room. The legislator that makes effectual laws for promoting of trade, increasing employment, improving land by more or better tillage, providing more food by fisheries, securing property, and co. This is probably and company or co, something like that. And the man that invents new trades, arts, or manufactures, or new improvements in husbandry, may be properly called fathers of their nation, as they are the cause of the generation of multitudes by the encouragement they afford to marriage. As to privileges granted to marriage, they may hasten the filling of a country that has been thinned by war or pestilence, or that has otherwise vacant territory, but cannot increase a people beyond the means provided for their subsistence. Benjamin Franklin didn't want the slaves to come over here. He wanted their people to come over here and get married and do trade and have families and to increase their kind, which is why he says what he says later. Let me see. He talks about it right there. The greater the common fashionable expense of any rank of people, the more cautious they are of marriage. Therefore, luxury should never be suffered to become common. The more cautious they are of marriage, they don't want to marry. Now, going down, we're gonna pick it up in 20. I think I want to do 21. The importation of foreigners into a country that has as many inhabitants as the present employments and provisions of subsistence will be in the end no increase of people, unless the newcomers have more industry and frugality than the natives. You see? And then they will provide more sustenance and increase in the country, but they will gradually eat the natives out. Nor is it necessary to bring in foreigners to fill up any occasional vacancy in a country, for such vacancy will soon be filled by natural generation. Who can now find the vacancy made in Sweden, France, or other warlike nations by the plague of heroism 40 years ago, in France by the expulsion of the Protestants, in England by the settlement of her colonies, or in Guinea by 100 years' exportation of slaves, that has blackened half America? A lot of your people over here in America, they came over as slaves. Even to the Americas. They ain't gonna tell you all that. And then, you got America's, a big place because it also includes South America. These places were not inhabited the way that they're inhabited today, meaning with civilizations and cities. Now, we know there were civilizations in cities, but not like it was in other places. It's kind of like, okay, you're a slave over here, but it's easier for you to run than it would like you was over in Africa. The thinness of inhabitants in Spain is owing to national pride and idleness and other causes rather than to the expulsion of the Moors or to making of new settlements. Even talks about the expulsion of the Moors. Now we go down to the famous reading and find a nation well regulated is like a polypus. Take away a limb, its place is soon supplied. Cut it in two, and each deficient part shall speedily grow out of the part remaining. Thus, if you have room and substance enough, as you may by dividing, make 10 polypips, or how you say it, out of one. You may of one make 10 nations, equally populous and powerful, or rather increase a nation tenfold in numbers and strength. And what ended up happening was they brought all these other people over here and we grew in number, even though they have these different nations and stuff. And since detachments of English from Britain sent to America will have their places at home so soon supplied and increase so largely here, why should the Palatine Boers be suffered to swarm into our settlements and by herding together establish their language and manners to the exclusion of ours? Why should Pennsylvania, founded by the English, become a colony of aliens who will shortly be so numerous as to Germanize us instead of our Anglifying them? Now, they're talking about their English. They're talking about their English people. And will never adopt our language or customs any more than they can acquire our complexion. Then we get to the famous point number 24. Which leads me to add one remark. You say, hey, since we're on it, let's go there. That the number of purely white people, remember how they define white may not mean the same thing of how you define white or how it was historically defined. You have to be able to differentiate. I can't even say it right. Y'all excuse me. That the number of purely white people in the world is proportionally very small. I hate that why I pronounce a word that has the syllable on top of each other, and then I pronounce it right, then another word I can't pronounce right. All Africa is black or tawny. Asia, chiefly tawny. America, exclusive of the newcomers. They're talking about their newcomers. Wholly so. Their newcomers. What I'm going to show you, not only in this video, but I think I'm going to do it in the next video on this topic, that the original settlers of America, they were black. And many of your slaveholders, your original, what we call American slaveholders, they were black. They were what we call black. Yes. This is why I think I'm going to title it something on the lines of Black Slave Masters Hidden Behind White Supremacy. It's not the complete story, y'all. It's not the complete story. The question you must ask yourself is this. Why, when these people came to America, the original 13 colonies that were black, who were not wanting to be under the authority of Israel anymore, I'm going to prove that to you later. Why did they have slaves? Why did they have slaves? Most of your newcomers that came over here, they didn't want to be under the authority of King James, or King James financed them to come over here. And they were of our people, meaning, Hebrew Israelites. Why did they have slaves? It could have been because that person was supposed to be a slave because of what they did, or it could also have been a form of protection. We're going to be, quote unquote, your slave masters instead of somebody else ruling over you. We even see that in the Old Testament. And then you have the extreme where it's like, okay, we know who you are. We want to rule over you because we want slaves. We don't want to do any work, which is what you saw Benjamin Franklin talking about. It goes on and says, and in Europe, the Spaniards, Italians, Europe deals with Germany, right? As he just mentioned earlier, French, Russians, and Swedes are generally of what we call a swarthy complexion, as are the Germans also. The Saxons only accepted, who with the English make the principal body of white people on the face of the earth. Now they had their group of English. I could wish their numbers were increased, and while we are, as I may call it, scouring our planet by clearing America of woods, and so making this side of our globe reflect a brighter light to the eyes of inhabitants in Mars or Venus, why should we, in the sight of superior beings, meaning these fallen angels and everything that they really worship, darken its people? Why increase the sons of Africa by planting them in America, where we have so fair an opportunity by excluding all blacks and tawnies, or ruddy colored people, brown colored people, of increasing the lovely white and red? But perhaps I am partial to the complexion of my country, for such kind of partiality is natural to mankind. Now, it makes me wonder, I don't know this for a fact, but just thinking, it makes me wonder the way he words it and what we've been studying. It makes me wonder if this is the real image of Benjamin Franklin. I'm really wondering if this is really what Benjamin Franklin looked like. I've seen it too many times. Y'all have seen it too many times where it's like you find out some information like, nah, they look nothing like this. It makes me wonder as I think about it. White and red. Now, talk about the blacks and tawnies, but is it possible that when he's talking about white and red, that we thought he was talking about white people the way that white people are defined today? But is it possible? Is it possible that when he's talking about white people, he's talking about Hebrew Israelites specifically? Specifically, which is why he said, hey, our number is small. Our number is very, very small. I didn't think about that before. But I'm thinking about it now. And why do I say that? You may say, well, no, that's not the case because he says blacks and tawnies. I don't necessarily associate myself with somebody that stays in Timbuktu. I know we was in Timbuktu and everything, but I'm talking about, I don't necessarily associate myself, or we're gonna say Senegal. I don't necessarily associate myself with people that are in Asia that are chiefly tawny, even though they are what we call black. They would be considered black. I'm just saying. I'm thinking white and red. Why do I say that? Well, we go back over here. Some of you remember this from the previous sermon. If not, you can go back and watch it so you can understand the points that we're making. And God said, let us make man in our image after our likeness and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea. And you know what else it says. Now, when we go look at the word man, it's Adam, right? Adam. You got man in regards to Adam, and you got Adam in regards to Adam, who is for us the original man. And it says hypocrite. We already went over that, right? You go down, perhaps so-called from the idea of redness. The Arabs distinguish two races of men, one red or ruddy, which we call white, the other black. Now, a person can make the argument and say, okay, this is commentary. Where did he get that from? This person, Gisson, where did he get this from? He got it from the Arabs. The Arabs were saying that. The Arabs were saying that. White and red. Go back. White and red. In the sense of ruddy. Ruddy. The Hebrews. Is it a possibility that this is not what Benjamin Franklin really looked like? And Benjamin Franklin is a Hebrew Israelite or Hebrew that rebelled against the ways of the Most High. I'm not saying that's the case, but it's very, very interesting when I look at it and it's worded like that, and you go over here and you see this and you start thinking like, which we call white, so white and ruddy, and then the other black. Now, I was just thinking about that, but that's not the point that I really wanted to make with me reading all this. I did want you to see this right here about the Arabs and everything. Now we go to our next point. You go look at the word ruddy, because the person gonna make an argument, oh no, that's not the case. We're gonna break it down real fast. Ruddy is what? Reddish, of a red color, of the complexion. Rosy, healthily red. It tells you the root of it. We go to the root of it. It means red, ruddy, the only color from which a definite common pi root word has been formed. Right? Ruby, red skin. And go down here, it says of complexions. ruddy, of a red color, of a lively flesh color. That's why you get the association with white and some other stuff that we covered in the previous sermon. Of the color of the human skin in high health. Thus we say ruddy cheeks, ruddy lips, a ruddy face or skin, a ruddy youth, and in poetic language, ruddy fruit. But the word is chiefly applied to the human skin of a bright yellow color, as ruddy gold. This isn't a natural complexion. This isn't a natural complexion. Talking about some red. It has nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with that. Here go some of your Edomites right here. Here goes some of your lineage of Esau right here. We know ruddy deals with brown, right? There goes some of them right here. Not this foolishness. This is like something that's healthy. Even white people would tell you this ain't healthy. They don't want to. White people don't want to walk around looking like this. Like, good Lord, get it together. Ruddy heifer. Oh, what color is it? 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 We're gonna get to that in a second. What color is the ruddy heifer? We go over here to the scriptures. This is the ordinance of the law which the Lord hath commanded, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, that they bring thee a red heifer without spot, wherein is no blemish, and upon which never came yoke. A red heifer. We go down, what it tell you? Bring thee a red H1, 2, 2. The same word used for ruddy. Red, ruddy, used of a garment stained with blood, of rosy cheeks. Had to deal with the health, y'all. The health of a chestnut or bay horse, of a red heifer, of the redness of lentils. What is red? Redness. This is what it's talking about. The red heifer, the brown heifer, it's that rich color. The same word used for the red heifer, the same word used for Adam. Adam, the same word. Chestnut, it mentioned chestnut, right? Chestnut is a hair coat color of horses consisting of a reddish to brown coat with a mane and tail the same or lighter in color than the coat. Chestnut is characterized by the absolute absence of true black hairs. It is one of the most common horse coat colors seen in almost every breed of horse. Chestnut is a very common coat color, but the wide range of shades can cause confusion. The lightest chestnuts may be mistaken for palominos. Palominos is a genetic color in horses consisting of a gold coat and white mane and tail. So it can appear like that, but it's actually chestnut, which is a reddish to brown coat. While the darkest shades can be so dark they appear black. The darkest shade of chestnut can be so dark, and chestnut is consisting of red to brown. It can be so dark that it appears black. That's not really black in the sense of how we say that's black, right? But it's actually brown. It's actually brown. Chestnuts have dark brown eyes and black skin, and typically are some shade of red or reddish brown. God works in patterns. God works in patterns. He just showed you with the red heifer. Same word used for Adam. But no, it doesn't mean that though. So that, Adam was not black, what we call black. He was not a brown man. You don't say I'm a brown man, you say I'm a black man. And they try to play word games and everything. Or okay, you're not black, you're brown. You're brown people. Well, you're not brown, you're black. Let's keep it moving. Let's look at these Arabs so we can make this connection. The first mention of Arabs appeared in the mid-9th century BCE as a tribal people in eastern and southern Syria and the northern Arabian Peninsula. The Arabs appear to have been under the vassalage of the Neo-Assyrian Empire as well as the succeeding Neo-Babylonian, empires. The Nabateans, we covered them many times before, and Arab people ruled a kingdom near Petra, which is I think modern day Jordan if I'm not mistaken, in the 3rd century BCE. Arab tribes, most notably the Ghassanids and Lakhmids, began to appear in the southern Syrian desert from the mid 3rd century CE onward during the mid to later stages of the Roman Sasanian how do you pronounce it, y'all? I ain't gonna sit here and flex and say I know how to pronounce these different names and everything. Before the expansion of the Usaid Caliphate, Arab referred to any of the largely nomadic and settled Arabic-speaking people from the Arabian Peninsula, Syrian desert, and lower Mesopotamia, with some even reaching what is now northern Iraq. Since the influence of Pan-Arabism in the 1950s and 1960s, Arabs have been taken to refer to a large number of people whose native regions became part of the Arab world due to the spread of Islam, Arabic tribes, and the Arabic language throughout the region during the early Muslim conquest of the 7th and 8th centuries. These cultural and demographic influences resulted in the subsequent Arabization of indigenous populations. I just want you to see some of this history. We're going to scroll down some. And y'all give me a second as I read over this real fast. Okay, let me see. I think that was it I wanted to read with that. I'm just trying to make sure. Y'all give me a second. Okay. We got that. Let's go down here. It talks about the early use of the word Arab, taking you back in history. It says the monoliths use the term to refer to Bedouins, or the Bedouins, of the Arabian Peninsula under King Gindibu, who fought as part of the coalition opposed to Assyria. Again, it tells you the earliest documented use of the word Arab in reference to a people appears on the Kirk monoliths, right? In Akkadian language. Look at it real fast. You have it right there. You can pause and read it if you want to. We know about him. He's mentioned in the scriptures. And then speaks about him. It says at the battle Quaquar are 1,000 camels of King Genadibu, the Araba, or the man Genadibu belonging to the Arabs. The related word Arab, however you pronounce it, is used to refer to Bedouins today, in contrast to Arab, which refers to Arabs in general. Both terms are mentioned around 40 times in pre-Islamic Sabian inscriptions. The book of Joel talks about the Sabians. Talk about the, the Sabians and everything. Pre-Islamic Sabians. The term Arab occurs also in the titles of the Himyarite kings from the time of Abu Karab Assad until Mahdi Karib Yafir. According to Sabian grammar, the term Arab is derived from the term Arab. The term is also mentioned in Quranic verses referring to people who were living in Medina, and it might be a South Arabian loanword in Quranic language. The oldest surviving indication of an Arab national identity is an inscription made in an archaic form of Arabic in 328 CE using a Nabatean alphabet, which refers to this person right here as king of all the Arabs, king of all the desert people, mixed people, king of all the people of the dust. And there's some other meanings to it that we have discussed in previous sermons, and we're going to see some of it here. Herodotus refers to the Arabs in the Sinai, southern Palestine, and the frankincense region. Remember the Magi and everything, right? Other ancient Greek historians, as you see right here, mention Arabs living in Mesopotamia along the Euphrates, in Egypt, the Sinai and the Red Sea, southern Jordan, which pertains to the Nabateans, the Syrian steppe, and in eastern Arabia, the people of Gera. Inscriptions dating to the 6th century BCE in Yemen include the term Arab. The most popular Arab account holds the word Arab came from an eponymous father named Yarub, who was supposedly the first to speak Arabic. And then this person had another view. He states that Arabs were called Garab or Westerners by Mesopotamians because Bedouins originally resided to the west of Mesopotamia. The term was then corrupted into Arab. It just depends on how you pronounce it. Yet another view is held by this person right here, that the word Arab was initially applied to the Ishmaelites of the Araba Valley. In biblical etymology, Arab comes from the desert origin of the Bedouins. It originally described Arava, which means wilderness. So if we're going to read that correct, then this king would be king of all the wild people, all of the people of the wilderness. And we know the correlation of the wilderness in the scriptures. The root, you see right here, has several additional meanings in Semitic languages, including west, and you can read the scriptures dealing with that, sunset, desert, how they were worshiping, what I think is in the book of Isaiah, or it might be in the book of Ezekiel, I can't remember right now, where he told the prophet to look and see what the people were doing. Look through the hole in the wall and everything. But it also means desert or mingled, mixed. And we know the correlation with that because Esau mingled his seed with Ishmael. Merchant and raven. We know the correlation with the raven in the scriptures, and are comprehensible with all of these having varying degrees of relevance to the emergence of the name. It is also possible that some forms were however you pronounce that, which means moving around, and hence it is alleged nomadic. Now we got that. We jump over here. This is that region we're talking about. The Arabian Peninsula. Saudi Arabia. They go Medina right there. You got Mecca where they be going. Right in that same area. It was all up in here. But it's more so right here. The Arabian Peninsula, right? Now why is that important? We'll see that in a second. Basra. Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, Basra. There go Petra that was mentioned, which is modern day Jordan. Basra right here, right next to Saudi Arabia, the desert place. What are the Arabs doing over here? In places like Dubai and Qatar, they're building it up. They're building this desert place up. They're building all this up, right? Again, Basra, Saudi Arabia right there. The sword of the Lord is filled with blood, is made fat with fatness, and with the blood of lambs and goats, with the fat of the kidneys of rams. For the Lord hath a sacrifice where in Basra, and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea. He has a great sacrifice in Basra. What we just saw also in what's known as Saudi Arabia, all up in here. He has a sacrifice, end times. This is an end times prophecy. Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? When we're dealing with Edom, what are we dealing with? All up in here. Edom, Edomites, who mixed themselves with Ishmael. We know this. This is things that we have covered and discussed, and these are things that y'all know also. This that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength. I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. For I have sworn by myself, said the Lord, that Basra shall become a desolation, a reproach, a waste, and a curse, and all the cities thereof shall be perpetual waste. He's going to literally turn this into hell. And so when the people are coming up to Israel, they're going to see this is burning. They're going to see all this burning. Behold, he shall come up and fly as the eagle, and spread his wings over Basra. And at that day shall the heart of the mighty men of Edom be as the heart of a woman in her pains. But I will send a fire upon Teman, which shall devour the palaces of Basra. I will surely assemble, O Jacob, all of thee. I will surely gather the remnant of Israel. I will put them together as the sheep of Basra. As the flock in the midst of their fold, they shall make great noise by reason of the multitude of men. Now we got that. And Esau said to Jacob, feed me, I pray thee, with that same what? Red, ruddy pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom. Edom, we know, is Esau. His name was Edom because he was already red, and then he wanted the red pottage, the ruddy pottage. And then we go over here, we just bring it up real fast. Red lentils. Red lentils. It's ruddy. Ruddy. It's a brownish color. Brown. Red lentil pasta. Brown. Looks almost orange. Looks almost orange. See how bright that is? It looks healthy. It looks like it will give you sustenance. It looks like it's gonna go in there and go in your body and take care of business. We have no reason to make nothing up. It looks pretty good. I've had red lentils because it's healthy. Now we're going back over here. Now these are the generations of Esau. Who is Edom? Now he just told you the land of Idumea, the land of Edomites, right? Then we type it in just so you can see Idumea. Edom and Idumea are two related but distinct terms. They relate to a historically contiguous population, but two separate, if adjacent territories. So it's the same area. It's pretty much the same area. Anyway, that ain't what I wanted. My bad. I wanted images. Clicked on the wrong thing. Just want to make the connection for you. Right up in that same area, and you see Nabatew, the Nabateans. Because this is where it all started from. They branched off and went down into up in here, right? It was up in the same area. We just read that. And they came all the way down up in here and everything. Close that. Going back over here. Thus dwelt Esau in Mount Seir. Esau is Edom. How y'all talking about Esau as a white man? How you talking about the Edomites or the white man? They know what's up. They know what's up. The Arabs are hiding under the veil of white supremacy. Y'all get so focused on white supremacy that you really missing what's going on. And it's the same thing that's going on with this whole Harvard situation. We ain't made it to that yet, but I wanted to make sure I establish this foundation so when I show you what I'm going to show you later, it makes sense. Now we go over here. I am black, but comely, O ye daughters of Jerusalem. As the tents of Kedar, as the curtains of Solomon. We read this scripture so many times. She's telling you that she's black. She is as black as the tents of Kedar. Why is that important? Well, if we go down, she said, I'm black but beautiful. Kedar H6938. Do I have it up? I do. I just want you to see it right there. Dark. A son of Ishmael. Abraham got with who? Hagar to have Ishmael. Ishmael was black. Like I told you, even if Abraham was what we call white, the children would have been considered what we call today what? Mixed. And therefore, he could have laid hold to the lineage. He wasn't a promised child, but he could still lay hold to the lineage. Even if Abraham and all these different people are white, Moses is white, they married black women. And therefore, we could still lay hold to the lineage. But we know the truth. We know the truth. Abraham himself was what we call black, ruddy. Ishmael, he was obviously darker, probably because his mother was darker, the Ethiopian. Ham, which means what? Burnt, black. In fact, let's bring it up. Ham, they were of a darker complexion, which makes sense of why you have the black race and then the so-called the so-called ancient white race. Because white isn't a race. It's a descriptive term. It's a descriptive term. Nobody is walking around like this screen. Now we jump over here and we get Ham. Y'all know it, but some people don't know. Let's get it. Hot. I think you go look, it's going to tell you burnt. Yeah, hot, warm. Freshly baked. And it's deeper than that also. But one of these names, I can't remember which one. I'm probably looking in the wrong spot. But some of you notice it tells you that it, burnt or burned. That's why I believe that on Ham's side, they were darker. Now going back to what we were looking at, it literally means dark. And she's telling you, I'm as dark as the tents of Kedar. I'm as dark as the descendants of Kedar. It's not just talking about the tabernacle they use and the goat skin and everything. I know about all that. But it says dusky, of the skin or the tent. Bedouins. The Bedouins are black. What we call black, dark. Swarthy, tribe of nomads in Arabian desert. They're also made of black goat skins. So yeah, it could refer to that, but it's talking about both of them. They tell you Sabian tribe, man. We just saw them earlier. Black skin man. That's the root of it. She's saying that I am black, but I am beautiful. I am just as black as your relatives. This is why she says, "O ye daughters of Jerusalem." I'm black, just like the tents, the tabernacles, the bodies of the Sabians, Nabateans, the Kedarites, because that was their family. That was Israel's family. Tracing back to who? To Ishmael. She related to him like, "Hey, I'm black just like your family, but you want to treat me like I'm different, because Solomon was digging her." The Israelites were not that black. They were black, since when we say black, but they weren't like dark. Y'all know what I'm talking about. They weren't dark like let's bring up that woman. Let's bring up that one woman I showed you. Blue black woman. They weren't dark like this. Yes, you do have people that walk around like that. I'm not saying, and maybe she was this dark. She could have been. But she wasn't ruddy. This is ruddy right here. This is ruddy. This is like blue black. But the woman in the Song of Solomon, she was dark. She wasn't like this. Just like this woman, speaking in the Song of Solomon, is speaking to the daughters of Jerusalem, saying, "Hey, I'm black, but I'm beautiful. O you daughters of Zion," just like your relative, just like Ishmael's lineage, who is dark skinned, black skinned, a son of Ishmael and of an Arabian tribe sprung from him. They're telling you, they're saying we making stuff up. It's in their own writings. That's why they say you want to hide something from a nigga, put it in a book. And now you want to hide something you can put in the book because they still ain't going to understand it. The rabbins call all the Arabians universally by this name. We can prove the Arabians, the Arabs, come from the lineage of what we call Shem. The Arabized Arabians. The original, what we call Arabs, who they come from? Ham's lineage. And we know that we mixed in with Ham's lineage, which is why you ultimately get the different shades of what we call black skin, which is really brown skin. Brown skin. Again, the rabbins call all the Arabians, if how you pronounce it, rabbins, I'm thinking it's rabbins, call all the Arabians universally by this name. They call all the Arabians black skinned people. If they were black skinned, and they're coming from Ishmael. Ishmael comes from Abraham. And Abraham first had a child with Hagar. That's one now. And then all we got to do is address his wife Sarah, which we can, because it describes the people that came from the lineage as ruddy, which is also brown, black. Not what we call today's modern day white race. The reason I'm breaking all this down to you, because they're trying to hide something from you. They're trying to hide something from you. They want you to focus on the white people so much. They want you to focus on white supremacy, which you should focus on that stuff. You should expose it for what it really is. But they don't want you to see something else. They don't want you to really see what's going on. They want you to think, oh yeah, it's the white people with Harvard and everything that have been doing this. So let's focus our energy and our attention on them, while the real culprits, they getting more money, they doing more manipulation, more deception, and sitting right there amongst you. And they know who they are because they know who you are. The people that started what we call Harvard, I don't believe they were white. I don't believe they were white. I believe they were what we call black. Because the ones that came over here, that's why I'll show you that history. The ones that came over here, first, they were not black. They were not black. Now we got that. Prince of Saudi Arabia, Arab. This is not a white man. I know black people that look just like this. My barber used to look like that. He was a little bit darker. My barber had the same facial structure. If I could bring him up, I don't even know where he at because it's been a while since I talked to him. And I'll put them side by side. He'd be like, dang, they cousins. They brothers or whatever. Because they is. But my barber wouldn't have been considered Arab. He would be considered black. Now he's like, like more the modern day what we call Arab. But my barber named Ryan looked like him, but he had more of the, we're going to say, Negroid features. This is a black man right here. But he's an Arab. Now, just for comparison's sake, we're going to look at Selassie. Some of you know the history of Selassie. We're not going to go into detail on that. That lineage traces back to Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. The Bible does talk about that. Doesn't go into detail, but it does talk about it if you know where to look. Right? He traces his lineage back to King Solomon. You can see the ruddiness, but you see some similarities with this guy. I'm not going to argue with you about if he came from the lineage of Solomon. Way too much evidence for that. And solid evidence. And it's also in the Bible. But do you see some similarities? Of course you do. And what's interesting is, if we go down, where did he go? Hold on. Oh, come on. Where did it go? Give me a second. I'm trying to find some. I just seen it. Okay, here you go. Right there in front of my face. Succeeded by. Oh. Oh. Y'all remember him, don't you? There can never be peace in Israel because the Jews left black and came back white. And we proved that that statement was true, even though they tried to say it wasn't true. Oh, you can't find it, so that means it's not true. You can't find it in these different sources. There's a lot of stuff we ain't found that don't mean it ain't true. Very, very interesting. Succeeded by, the same guy that said the Jews left black and came back white. Now, getting to the article. Some of them we're going to read all of them, and some of them we aren't. Harvard commits $100 million to redress its complicity in slavery. Say that 3 or 4 times fast. Harvard University is dedicating $100 million to create a fund to research and redress its extensive entanglements with slavery. University President Lawrence Bacow said Tuesday. What's interesting is this: these people, they smart now, they wise, how they word stuff. Harvard University is a research university. That's what they do. We don't need you to donate $100 million to fund the research. We need you to give us what's due to us, and we're going to take it back by force, which is what's going to happen because they're not going to give it up. This is all bull jive. Cow dung. This is what all this is. The university's attempt to reckon with its past is detailed in a report titled Harvard and the Legacy of Slavery. It's like a 134-page report. I haven't read it yet, but I'm going to read it. Which documents how the slave trade in the 17th and 18th centuries. 17th and 18th centuries. Huh. Didn't we just read something about Benjamin Franklin and folks being black during this time period? Comprised a vital part of the New England economy and powerfully shaped Harvard University. Harvard University was able to grow into what it is today because of the slave trade. Remember, before you had the transatlantic slave trade, you had the Arab slave trade. Because blacks were trading blacks. Get so tired of people saying that that wasn't the case. The report makes plain that slavery in America was by no means confined to the South, Bacow said in a message to members of the Harvard community. It was embedded in the fabric and the institutions of the North, and it remained legal in Massachusetts until the Supreme Judicial Court ruled it unconstitutional in 1783. Not too long after what Benjamin Franklin said, and we know it still goes on today. And they know this. You know, they got to play the game. We're going to call him Bacow. Bacow said slavery and racism played a significant part in Harvard's institutional history, and enslaved people worked on campus and supported students, faculty, staff, and university presidents. Their labor enriched numerous donors and ultimately the institution. The institution got rich. Harvard is not what it is today without slavery. Pause. Because y'all may think that I'm against slavery. I'm not against slavery. The Bible, I'm 100% for slavery and righteousness because the Bible and God himself supports slavery. That's one major mistake a lot of you are making. Saying that God is against slavery. God is not against slavery. How is God against slavery when God sent us into slavery? He's against the things that people are doing in captivity and not freeing the people when their time is up. That's what he's against. And enslaving people unrighteously. Just because a person is enslaved, I mean, you got to treat them like they're less than the dung. Even dung has some worth as fertilizer and everything. They treating us like we worse than fertilizer. That's what God has a problem with. You're not supposed to be treating your slaves like garbage. You're not supposed to be treating your prisoners like garbage. For nearly 150 years from the founding of the university in 1636. So the university was founded in 1636. What did we just read about? Did I close it? I think I might have closed it. Yeah, I think I closed it. But y'all saw it. With let me close some of these tabs out. Benjamin Franklin back in 1751. He told you that most of the people of that time period are what we call black or tawny. The university was founded in 1636. Harvard presidents and others enslaved more than 70 people, according to the report, which lists the names of some in an appendix. Enslaved men and women served Harvard presidents and professors and fed and cared for Harvard students, the report said. Like I told you, you got to understand the reasoning of it. There's many reasons why a person had slaves. It's even in the Old Testament where our own people because they had to serve their sentence. But we weren't treating our own brothers and sisters like garbage. The university and its donors benefited from the slave trade into the 19th century, the report said. They're trying to cause confusion because they don't really want you to know what's going on. They took the history and said, we're going to apply it to ourselves. I ain't saying there weren't what we call modern day white people that weren't involved in this, but understand what's going on in totality, not just what they want you to know. These profitable financial relationships included most notably the good Lord. We're going to skip that. Of donors who accumulated their wealth through slave trading. Remember how Wall Street started. Wall Street is still based off the slave trade, slave market. Y'all just don't realize it. Well, some of you don't. From the labor of enslaved people on plantations in the Caribbean islands and in the American South, and from the northern textile manufacturing industry supplied with cotton grown by enslaved people held in bondage, which is interesting because you have Abraham Lincoln, who, depending on what sources you read and what type of credibility you put to it, Abraham Lincoln described himself as black, as dark complexioned. Don't believe me? Go look it up. Maybe one day I'll do a video on it just to show you it is out there. Some people say it ain't true. Some people do. The report said Harvard's financial investments included loans to Caribbean sugar planters, rum distillers, and plantation suppliers, along with investments in cotton manufacturing. Because that was what the Civil War was really about. The slaves and everything, that money. University presidents and professors also promoted race science and eugenics and carried out abusive research on enslaved people, the report said. It still goes on. It still goes on. Remember, you don't really deal with the seed of something until later because the fruit doesn't come until later. Something is planted and then it grows up and then you really see what the seed is going to become. This is why we're dealing with all this now. I believe we bear more responsibility to do what we can to address the persistent corrosive effects of those historical practices on individuals, on Harvard, and our society, the university president wrote. I'm about to throw up because he's sitting there. I'm not buying it. They don't want to give that money. That's why I'm not buying this 100 million. They don't want to get that money. They are still getting wealthy off of that. If you want to make amends, then give what is due. Dennis Lloyd, 74, a real estate developer who splits his time between Massachusetts and Georgia, is a descendant of Cuba Vasa, a woman who was born in Antigua and enslaved by the family of Isaac Royal Sr., a donation from Royal's son in the late 18th century funded the first Harvard professorship of law. The royal family had a sugar plantation in Antigua, did I pronounce that right? Antigua, and moved to Medford, Massachusetts following a planned slave revolt. They brought several slaves with them. Why did they get out of there? Because they knew the slaves were going to rebel, and they probably didn't have the manpower to stop it. So they said, hey, let's get out of here and let's go start over. A lot of your black folk, they got up out of there and came over here to America and established these colonies in these old cities and everything, like Louisiana and everything, which has such a rich history. Creole. And you can trace a lot of the Creole back to where? The Caribbeans. I think it's a step in the right direction, Lord told CNN on Tuesday, calling Harvard's plan an opportunity to promote a better understanding of the history that has been lost. We don't need you to give $100 million toward that. We can do that ourselves. And stolen from African Americans as a result of slavery. The report includes recommendations to redress that legacy through teaching, research, and service, and the commitment of $100 million for the creation of a legacy of slavery fund. We don't want that. Give us the money. Now, I will make this argument. A lot of black people cannot handle that type of money. Make the people, if you're going to pay these reparations, well, they're not going to pay the reparations. They're going to have to be forced to do it under Gasara. But if you're going to do something like this, make the people take classes, the black people that's going to be a part of this. Take educational classes, financial literacy, real estate, and all this other stuff. And then and only then would certain individuals be able to get access to the funds. Now, if a person is what we call black, already established, then there needs to be something in play where they can have access to the money because they already have a track record of being able to handle this type of money. But they don't want to give the money to the people. They don't want to give the money to us. We're gonna take this $100 million and we're gonna teach you. We don't want you to teach us. We don't want your research. Let us do our own research. Give us access to your library of your hidden books that you have. Because remember, we only access like 1% of the internet. I think it is. Let me look it up real fast. Let's see if I can word it right. I forgot how to word it. I can't word it right, but I can't think right now. But I think it's like 1 to 5% of the data that's out there on the internet that we have access to. A lot of stuff is hidden, but what we do have is enough if you think about it. So we continue on, and it says some of these funds will be available for current use, while the balance will be held in an endowment to support this work over time. The fund is intended to support the implementation of the report's recommendations, including the expansion of educational opportunities for the descendants of enslaved people in the southern U.S. and the Caribbean, establishing partnerships with historically black colleges and universities. We don't need all that. Give us what you owe us. And identifying and building relationships with the direct descendants of enslaved people who labored at Harvard. The report said the fund signifies the university's acknowledgement of wrongdoing and the responsibility to undertake a sustained process of repair. Financial expenditures are a necessary predicate to and foundation for redress. Lord, a graduate of Howard University, praised the Ivy League University pledge to provide financial and educational support to the direct descendants of enslaved people and its vow to build ties with HBCUs. They're going to pick the black people they want to. They're going to coon for them. Simple as that. So he said Harvard benefited from and in some ways I cannot pronounce this word right now. I'm not on it today, y'all. Y'all can have some grace with me. Have some grace for me. But we go to our next point, and that's the scriptures. We're going to see what the Bible says. The reason they didn't want to give that money because they know what it means. They know what it means. Arise, shine, for thy light is come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee. For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people. But the Lord shall arise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee. And the Gentiles shall come to thy light, and kings to the brightness of thy rising. Lift up thine eyes round about, and see. All they gather themselves together, they come to thee. Thy son shall come from far, and thy daughter shall be nursed at thy side. Then thou shalt see, and flow together, and thy heart shall fear and be enlarged, because the abundance of the sea shall be converted unto thee. The forces of the Gentiles shall come unto thee. The multitude of camels shall cover thee, the dromedaries of Midian and Ephah. All they from Sheba shall come, that shall bring gold and incense, and they shall show forth the praises of the Lord. They shall bring forth what? Gold and incense, just like they did with Christ. The birth of Israel, back as a nation. All the flocks of Kedar shall be gathered together unto thee. The rams of Nabaoth, the same group of people, shall minister unto thee. All the Arabs are going to come to you. They shall come up with acceptance on my altar, and I will glorify the house of my glory. Who are these that fly as a cloud, and as the doves to their windows? Surely the isles shall wait for me in the ships of Tarshish first, to bring thy sons from far, their silver and their gold with them, unto the name of the Lord thy God, and to the Holy One of Israel, because he hath glorified thee. And the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls, and their kings shall minister unto thee. For in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor have I had mercy on thee. Therefore thy gates shall be open continually, and they shall not be shut day nor night, that men may bring unto thee the forces of the Gentiles, and that their kings may be brought. For the nation and kingdom that will not serve thee shall perish. Yea, those nations shall be utterly wasted. They're not going to give up that power. They're going to be forced to. Forced to give it up. The glory of Lebanon shall come unto thee, the fir tree, the pine tree, and the box together, to beautify the place of my sanctuary, and I will make the place of my feet glorious. The sons also of them that afflicted thee shall come bending unto thee, and all they that despise thee shall bow themselves down at the soles of thy feet, and they shall call thee the city of the Lord, the Zion, the Holy One of Israel, just like we see in the book of Revelation. Whereas thou hast been forsaken and hated, so that no man went through thee. Nobody cared what you had to say. I will make thee an eternal excellency, a joy of many generations. Thou shalt also suck the milk of Gentiles, the sweet stuff, the good life, and shalt suck the breast of kings, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord, and thou shalt know that I, the Lord, am thy Savior and thy Redeemer, the mighty one of Jacob. And some of you know what this means. I think we're going to address that a little bit later, so you can get a better understanding. For brass I will bring gold, and for iron I will bring silver, and for wood brass, and for stones iron. I will also make thy officers peace, and thy exactors righteousness. Violence shall no more be heard in thy land, wasting nor destruction within thy borders, but thou shalt call thy walls salvation, and thy gates praise. The sun shall be no more thy light by day, neither for brightness shall the moon give light unto thee. But the Lord shall be unto thee an everlasting light, and thy God thy glory. Thy sun shall no more go down, neither shall thy moon withdraw itself. For the Lord shall be thine everlasting light, and the days of thy mourning shall be ended. Thy people also shall be all righteous. They shall inherit the land forever. The branch of my planting, the work of my hands, that I may be glorified. So Christ is glorified in his people. When you're saying that those are the people over there, that's not truly glorifying Christ. A little one shall become 1,000, and a small one a strong nation. The Lord will hasten it in his time. He's going to speed it up. He's going to speed it up. Then we flow into chapter 61, which is a continuation of chapter 60. The Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, because the Lord hath anointed me to preach good tidings unto the meek. He hath sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to them that are bound, to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord, and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all that mourn, to appoint unto them that mourn in Zion, to give unto them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they may be called the trees of righteousness, the planting of the Lord, that he might be glorified. Y'all should know why I'm laughing. And they shall build the old wastes, they shall raise up the former desolations, and they shall repair the waste cities, the desolations of many generations. And strangers shall stand and feed your flocks, and the sons of the alien shall be your plowmen and your vine dressers. We're not going to be doing what we call, what's known as menial labor anymore. We're not going to be doing that no more. Ain't going to be no getting up, working a 9 to 5. We're going to be the ones that's making the decisions of the world. We're going to be the Bilderberg group. This is what they don't want. So they try to get you to settle and say, yeah, we're making amends. When you lay hold to this right here, and you lay hold to Christ, and Christ is in you, you lay hold to all these blessings. And you say, hey, I'm not settling for you to give me your education. I want everything that you owe me that you took unrighteously. I don't care if you're black or white. And I know about that because I got somebody trying to blackmail me right now out of something that don't even belong to them. And some of you know what I'm talking about. Yes, I'm dealing with some real live blackmail. So pray for your boy. But ye shall be named the priests of the Lord. Men shall call you the ministers of our God. Ye shall eat the what? The riches of the Gentiles. And in their glory shall ye boast yourselves. This is why they're trying to get you to let your guard down even more. Hey, we're making amends. We're making amends. You're not making amends if you still make all this money, but you ain't willing to give that money, though. Pretty much saying, hey, pull yourself up by the bootstraps still. For I, the Lord, love judgment. I hate robbery for burnt offering. And I will direct their work in truth. And I will make an everlasting covenant with them. And their seed shall be known among the Gentiles, and their offspring among the people. All that see them shall acknowledge them, that they are the seed which the Lord hath blessed. I will greatly rejoice in the Lord. My soul shall be joyful in my God, for he hath clothed me with the garments of salvation. He hath covered me with the robe of righteousness. As a bridegroom decketh himself with ornaments, and as a bride adorneth herself with her jewels. For as the earth bringeth forth her bud, and as the garden causeth the things that are sown in it to spring forth, so the Lord God will cause righteousness and praise to spring forth before all nations. Listen, O isles. Listen, who, O isles, unto me, and hearken, ye people from far. The Lord hath called me from the womb. From the bowels of my mother hath he made mention of my name. And he hath made my mouth like a sharp sword. In the shadow of his hand hath he hid me, and made me a polished shaft. In his quiver hath he hid me. Psalm 83, anybody? In his quiver. Quiver is where you keep your arrows. And saith unto me, Thou art my servant, O Israel, in whom I will be glorified. Then I said, I have labored in vain, I have spent my strength for naught, and in vain, yet surely My judgment is with the Lord, and my work with my God. And now saith the Lord that formed me from the womb to be his servant, to bring Jacob again to him. Though Israel be not gathered, yet shall I be glorious in the eyes of the Lord, and my God shall be my strength. And he said, It is a light thing that thou shouldest be my servant to raise up the tribes of tribe of Jacob, and to restore the preserved of Israel. And to what? To restore the preserved of Israel. I will also give thee for a light to the Gentiles, give thee to be salvation to the Gentiles, that thou mayest be my salvation unto the end of the earth. Thus saith the Lord, the Redeemer of Israel and his Holy One, to him whom man despiseth, to him whom the nation abhorreth, to a servant of rulers, kings shall see and arise, princes also shall worship, because of the Lord that is faithful, and the Holy One of Israel, and he shall choose thee. Thus saith the Lord, in an acceptable time have I heard thee, and in a day of salvation have I helped thee, and I will preserve thee, and give thee for a covenant of the people, to establish the earth, to cause to inherit the desolate heritages, that thou mayest say to the prisoners, Go forth, to them that are in darkness, show yourselves. Now it's time for you to come out and show who you really are. They shall feed in the ways, and their pastures shall be in all high places. They're going to be known. They shall not hunger nor thirst, neither shall the heat nor sun smite them. For he that hath mercy on them shall lead them, even by the springs of water shall he guide them. And I will make all my mountains a way, and my highways shall be exalted. Behold, these shall come from far, and lo, these from the north and from the west, and these from the land of Sinim. Sing, O heavens, and be joyful, O earth, and break forth into singing, O mountains, for the Lord hath comforted his people, and will have mercy upon his afflicted. But Zion said, The Lord hath forsaken me, and my Lord hath forgotten me. Can a woman forget her sucking child, that she should not have compassion on the son of her womb? Yea, they may forget, yet will I not forget thee. They can try to, whitewash through all this other stuff, but God knows who we are. He is not going to forget us. He has not forgotten us. They may forget. You may forget who you were. But God didn't forget. The Most High didn't forget. And he has the power to bring it back to remembrance of who you always were and who you were always supposed to be. They can try to change whatever they want to change. I don't know what God y'all serve, but the God that I serve, yeah. Behold, I have graven thee upon the palms of my hands. Thy walls are continually before me. Thy children shall make haste. Thy destroyers and they that made thee way shall go forth of thee. Lift up thine eyes round about, and behold, all these gather themselves together and come to thee. As I live, saith the Lord, thou shalt surely clothe thee with them all, as with an ornament, and bind them on thee as a bride doeth. For thy waste and thy desolate places in the land of thy destruction shall even now be too narrow by reason of the inhabitants, and they that swallow thee up shall be far away. The children which thou shalt have, after thou hast lost the other, shall say again in thy ears, The place is too strait for me. Give place to me that I may dwell. Then shalt thou say in thy heart, Who hath begotten me these, seeing I have lost my children, and am desolate, a captive, and removing to and fro? And who hath brought up these? Behold, I was left alone. These, where had they been? Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, I will lift up my hand to the Gentiles, and set up my standard to the people. And they shall bring thy sons in their arms, and thy daughters shall be carried upon their shoulders. If we are the Gentile, then when did we do this when we brought the people into the land? When did we come with the so-called Israelites over into the land, carrying their people and hey, we with y'all now? Didn't happen. And kings shall be thy nursing fathers. This is what we were talking about earlier. And queens thy nursing mothers. They shall bow down to thee with their face toward the earth, and lick up the dust of thy feet. And thou shalt know that I am the Lord, for they shall not be ashamed that wait for me. Shall the prey be taken from the mighty, or the lawful captive delivered? But thus saith the Lord, even the captives of the mighty shall be taken away, and the prey of the terrible shall be delivered. For I will contend with him that contended with thee, and I will save thy children. And I will feed them that oppress thee with their own flesh, and they shall be drunken with their own blood, as with sweet wine. And all flesh shall know that I, the Lord, am thy Savior and thy Redeemer, the mighty one of Jacob. And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Take of them of the captivity, even of Heldai, of Tobijah, and of Jedediah, which are come from Babylon, and come thou the same day, and go into the house of Josiah, the son of Zephaniah. Then take silver and gold, and make crowns, and set them upon the head of Joshua, the son of Josedek, the high priest. And speak unto him, saying, Thus speaketh the Lord of hosts, saying, Behold, the man whose name is the branch, and he shall grow up out of his place, and he shall build the temple of the Lord. Even he shall build the temple of the Lord, and he shall bear the glory, and shall sit and rule upon his throne. And he shall be a priest upon his throne, and the council of peace shall be between them. And crowns shall be to Helam, and to Tobijah, and to Jediah, and to him the son of Zephaniah, for a memorial in the temple of the Lord. You see that? The branch, Christ, was symbolized by what was going on back then. We are in Christ, so the same thing is going to happen with us. Thus saith the Lord, the Holy One of Israel and his Maker, Ask me of things to come concerning my sons, and concerning the work of my hands command ye me. Ask me of things to come concerning my sons. He knows the beginning from the end. He knows what's going to happen with us. Ask and he will show you. People don't really want to know. I have made the earth and created man upon it. I, even my hands, have stretched out the heavens, and all their hosts have I commanded. I have raised him up in righteousness, and I will direct all his ways. He shall build my city, and he shall let go my captives, not for price nor reward, saith the Lord of hosts. You're not going to be able to bribe Christ. You can't bribe the true people of God. Meaning those who are inward, have his spirit inwardly, not just because they're flesh. Thus saith the Lord, the labor of Egypt, and merchandise of Ethiopia, and of the Sabians, men of stature, shall come over unto you, and they shall be thine. This ain't just talking about modern day white people. It's talking about these Arabs too. They shall come after thee in chains. They shall come over, and they shall fall down unto thee. They shall make supplication unto thee, please, please, saying, Surely God is in thee, and there is none else. There is no God. It's pretty much saying there's no God except your God. For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob, and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land. And the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place. And the house of Israel shall possess them. Possess people. Whether they are slaves or they possess them as handmaids and servants. Possess them in the land of the Lord. For servants and handmaids they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. And it shall come to pass in the day that the Lord shall give thee rest from thy sorrow, and from thy fear, and from the hard bondage wherein thou wast made to serve, that thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon, who we know as Satan, and say, How hath the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. Mystery of Babylon, right? The Lord hath broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. He who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger, is persecuted and none hindereth. The whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth into singing. Yea, the fir trees rejoice at thee. The cedars of Lebanon, saying, since thou art laid down, no feller is come up against us. They say, oh, it's country. No, that's Bible. No feller. That feller there, look at that feller. We country folks, right? We talk different. That's what it's talking about. Hell from beneath is moved from thee to meet thee at thy coming. It stirreth up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth. It hath raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. All they shall speak and say unto thee, art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy vials. The worm is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? You see the connection? For thou hast said in thy heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mountain of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the what? The heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. If you are ascending above the heights of the clouds, it means that you're below the clouds. And you're going up and up and up and up, or at least trying to. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this the angel? No, is this the man? Count the number of the beast, for the number of the beast is the number of a man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms, that made the world as a wilderness, mixing the holy with the profane, Arab, and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of his prisoners. They served their sentence, and he didn't want to let them go. All the kings of the nations, even all of them, lie in glory, every one in his own house. But thou art cast out of the grave like an abominable branch, because he was a part of Israel, the Assyrian. And as the raiment of those that are slain thrust through with a sword, they go down to the stones of the pit as a carcass trodden under feet. Thou shalt not be joined with them in burial, because thou hast destroyed thy land and slain thy people. Satan has his own land. He was given his own land, wasn't he? He has his own people. The seed of evildoers shall never be renowned. Prepare slaughter for his children, for the iniquity of their fathers. Oh, we are God's children. Lies, lies, lies. That do not rise, nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with what? With cities. For I will rise up against them, saith the Lord of hosts, and cut off from Babylon the name, and remnant, and son and nephew, saith the Lord. I will also make it a possession for the bitter in pools of water, and I will sweep it with the besom of destruction, saith the Lord of hosts. The Lord of hosts hath sworn, saying, surely as I have thought, so shall it come to pass, and as I have purposed, so shall it stand, that I will break the Assyrian. Lucifer is the Assyrian. In my land and upon my mountains tread him underfoot. I'm gonna drag his ass. Then shall his yoke depart from off them, and his burden depart from off their shoulders. Therefore all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thine adversaries, every one of them, shall go into captivity, into slavery. And they that spoil thee shall be a spoil, and all that prey upon thee will I give for a prey. But the saints of the Most High shall what? Take the kingdom. We're going to take the physical kingdom. and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. They're not going to give it up, y'all. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews, and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. Now we got that. Jump over here and read some more of these articles. I'm not going to read all of them. I just want to read some of the points that they're going to make, because different articles give you little pieces here and little pieces there. Harvard pledges $100 million to research atone for role in slavery. That's not an atonement. They don't get to choose how they want to atone. Harvard University is vowing to spend $100 million to study and atone for its extensive ties with slavery. What you need to, we don't need your $100 million to study it. You already know what's up, because Harvard University is a research center. It's a research university. The school's president announced Tuesday with plans to identify and support the descendants of enslaved people who labored at the Ivy League campus. President Lawrence Bacow announced the funding as Harvard released a new report detailing the many ways the college benefited from slavery and perpetuated racial inequality. But the report stops short of recommending direct financial reparations, and officials have no immediate plans for that kind of support. Obviously, that's the issue right there. That's the issue. You're still directly benefiting financially from this, but then you don't want to pay what you owe. Harvard, the nation's oldest and wealthiest college, is the latest among a growing number of U.S. schools attempting to confront their involvement with slavery and also make amends for it. They want to make amends according to how they want to make amends. But God is going to make amends how He wants to make amends. And this right here ultimately is not it. Now we go to our next one. And it says, dual message of slavery probe. Harvard's ties inseparable from rise, and now university must act. So we go down. It's pretty much saying the same thing. This one tells a little bit more information. Let me see if I can find it real fast. They talk about, speaking the truth and stuff like that. We're committed to truth for the sake of our community and for the sake of our nation. The truth is that slavery played a significant part of our institutional history. Harvard slave ties extended beyond abolition in Massachusetts in 1783 through the pre-Civil War period, when wealthy donors boosted the university with funds earned through slave trading and slavery-dependent businesses, such as Caribbean sugar and Southern cotton. The effects carried into the post-slavery era in the 20th century, as prominent faculty members promoted eugenics, discrimination, tainted admissions and housing, and Harvard became one of the nation's most prestigious institutions by catering to America's white, wealthy upper class. They got the education, then they was able to get more money and build billion-dollar corporations. So we got that one. Then we jump over here and it tells us, for nearly 400 years, Harvard's most famous motto has been a single word, veritas, or truth. In the spirit of that slogan, university officials said Harvard on Tuesday published the first full accounting of the institution's historical ties to slavery. In a sweeping report, the university has acknowledged its complicity in 19th century race science and 20th century racial discrimination. The reason I want to read this is because this one says 20th century. And also 21st century. And announced the creation of a $100 million fund to address the legacies of slavery, including inequalities and educational outcomes that persist in this day. All right, we got that one. Then we're going to grab this one real fast. The university is committing $100 million from an endowed legacy of slavery fund. Its report carefully avoided treading on direct financial reparations for descendants of enslaved people. They want to give you the money directly. They want to dictate how they want to make amends. It don't work that way. Ultimately, it doesn't work that way. Now, this is all the issue because if you go over here and simply type in Harvard millionaires, their school would not be what it is without the money from the slaves that they were amassing to be able to grow their school the way that they did and do some of the stuff they're doing today. Well, I should say a lot of the stuff, all the stuff they're doing today. Harvard also ranks first in the number of ultra-high net worth alumni with assets greater than $30 million. Harvard's total number of ultra-high net worth alumni is more than twice that of the highest ranking institution, Stanford. Combined wealth, $4.769 billion. This is why it matters. We're going to give you a little stinking 100 million, but we really ain't going to give it to you. Yeah, 100 million is stinking. It stinks in comparison to how much money they really got. Harvard leads the way with at least 29 billionaire alumni on the Forbes list. We found information about the undergrad education as a majority, but not all, of the list of members. Forbes releases 2021 list of the 400 richest Americans. Of the 400 people featured, 112 came from the same dozen schools. And they pay homage to each other. We're gonna put it like that. The money is circulating through all these schools. So this isn't just a Harvard issue, but it's a Penn State issue, it's a Stanford issue. All of them getting money, and all of them got roots in it. Penn was the second most represented school on the list with 14 billionaires, falling just behind Harvard University's 15 billionaires. This is why it matters. Counting all degrees, Harvard University comes in first place in terms of the total number of billionaire alumni. If only bachelor's degrees are counted, the University of Pennsylvania, University of Penn, comes in slightly ahead of Harvard, according to a 2014 report. Harvard also ranks first in the number of ultra-high net worth alumni with assets greater than $30 million. Y'all buying into this stuff and think this is actually making amends. Now, let's tie some of the stuff we were talking about earlier together. It tells you Harvard University is a private Ivy League research university in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Founded in 1636 as Harvard College and named for its first benefactor, the Puritan clergyman John Harvard. It is the oldest institution of higher learning in the United States and among the most prestigious in the world. What are the Puritans? In the early 17th century, did I bring it up? Let me see. Not yet. Let's just read it right here. In the early 17th century, thousands of English Puritans colonized North America, mainly in New England. Puritans were generally members of the Church of England who believed that the Church of England was insufficiently reformed, retained too much of its Roman Catholic doctrine. We're going to get into that later, but you gotta really discern because they try to confuse you. Like, oh, the King James and they were Catholic and everything. No, they were fighting against it. They were fighting against it. And the Puritans, when you find out why they really wanted to leave, then you're going to really know what's up. Now, I want you to see that real fast. And it said they are a research university. A research university is a university that's committed to research as a central part of its mission. They are donating or putting $100 million for learning and research when this is what they do. And, of course, some other stuff. But we're going to, put more money into this to bring more education in regards to what happened. I don't think we need that. We can do it on our own. They can be public or private and often have well-known brand names. Undergraduate courses at many research universities are often academic rather than vocational and may not prepare students for particular careers, but many employers value degrees from research universities because they teach fundamental life skills such as critical thinking. If that's the case, then why is Harvard University, which is a research university, one of the most prestigious ones in the world, if not the prestigious one? Globally, research universities are predominantly public universities, with notable exceptions being United States and Japan. I want you to see that, how they finessing people. Now we go over here and tell you some more about the Puritans. In the early 17th century, thousands of English Puritans colonized North America, mainly in New England. Puritans were generally members of the Church of England who believed that the Church of England was insufficiently reformed, retaining too much of its Roman Catholic doctrinal roots. Now you got to be careful with this, because Catholic doesn't mean what you think it means. It can be, but Catholic simply means universal. And who therefore opposed royal ecclesiastical policy under Elizabeth I of England, James I of England, and Charles I of England. Elizabeth I of England? Oh, we know about her. We studied her before. James, yes, King James, and Charles, his son, if I remember correctly. Yeah, the second son. They opposed royal ecclesiastical policy. The issue is King James wasn't a Catholic. He was a Catholic in the sense of what Catholic means, universal, but he wasn't a Catholic in the sense of worshiping the Pope. He believed that he had more authority and power than the Pope because of the position he was in under the divine right of kings. They used that as an excuse to rebel against the royal ecclesiastical policy, the royal order. They didn't want to be ruled by the Hebrew Israelites. Now, we jump over here and make this connection. We've seen this before, but let's get it. They say she looked like this. Bull jive. There's a reason why her skin looks like this, and the records tell you. So these are actual accounts of people giving their description of what Queen Elizabeth looked like. And who is Queen Elizabeth? There you have it. Her face is comely rather than handsome, but she is tall and well-formed with good skin, though swarthy. She has fine eyes. Now, just in case we are stupid and slow, what does swarthy mean? Dark colored. Swart. We call black. Black, dirty, dark, black. Depending on the context, could be, dark of night, clouds, or it can be regards to skin color. Of skin color. They would name themselves after things that describe themselves. That's always been like that. Now going back, the queen's hair is more reddish than yellow and curled in appearance naturally. Short and ruddy in complexion, very strong built. We have discussed that before, while one person would say that she's tall and well formed, and another will say she's short. Look at the years, 1557, 1596. Her face oblong, fair but wrinkled, her eyes small yet black and pleasant, her nose a little hook, her lips narrow, and her teeth black, because of all the sugar and coffee and tea she was drinking. Her hair was of an auburn color, but false, because she wore wigs. She was very vain. Upon her head she had a small crown. Her bosom was uncovered, and all the English ladies have it till they marry. As all the English ladies have it till they marry. Her hands were slender, her fingers rather long, and her stature neither tall nor short. Her air was stately, and her manner of speaking mild and obliging. Taller stature. see. Let me see. Yeah, so you have those descriptions of her. Then you jump over here. We're looking at this book, Life of Elizabeth I by Alison Ware, 2003. We simply want to search inside the book. It's going to be page 17, right where we are, page 16, my bad. All you got to do is type in red. And no, it didn't come up. Let's see. Lost my point. Okay, let me scroll through here real fast. Why is it not showing the first page? Okay, yeah, right here. Page 16. I just want y'all to see it. We'll pick it up right here. It says Elizabeth was 25 years old at her accession. She was tall and very slender, with a tiny waist, small bosom, and beautiful long finger hands, which it pleased her vanity to display to advantage in a variety of affected poses. She had a swarthy olive complexion. Oh, Jesus was olive color. If Jesus was olive color, he was dark skinned. He was black. What we call black, y'all. Or brown. Like that of her mother. Why is all that important? Because this is the lineage of King James. This is why the Puritans rebelled. Not because King James was necessarily black. They didn't want to be ruled over by a Hebrew Israelite. Meaning they didn't want to be ruled over by Christ. And so they left for, and we know this, for what? Religious freedom. Because they felt like they were being religiously persecuted. Although she made a habit of whitening it with lotion made up of egg whites. Her skin was dark, but she whitened her skin, just like Michael Jackson did. How she do it? With egg whites, powdered eggshell, poppy seeds, borax, and alum or aluminum, which made her face appear what? Appear white and luminous. And that ended up messing her skin up. We covered this stuff before. She had inherited also Anne Boleyn's long, thin face, high cheekbones, and pointed chin. From her father, she had her red, we call it brown, naturally curly, and high hooked nose. And then it gives some of the, some of the stuff we just saw right there. In 1557, a Venetian envoy had written, "Her face is comely rather than handsome, but she is well formed and has fine eyes." Right? So this is nothing that we are making up. This is all important. Because if you go, going back, remember, they opposed the royal ecclesiastical policy, the Puritans. We want religious freedom. We don't want to rule. We don't want to be ruled by you. Now, if you go over here to the Act of Settlement 1701, it tells you the Act of Settlement is an act of the Parliament of England that was passed in 1701 to settle the succession to the English and Irish crowns on Protestants only. You have the modern day Protestants and everything, and then you have the real Protestants, like King James and everything, that were really protesting against the Catholic Church. It wasn't that like Martin Luther and everything, no, who still was saying that they were under the Catholic Church. They were like, we don't want anything to do it. What the hell y'all talking about? The true Protestants. Inside this royal lineage, you had people that were, we're going to say, the ancient Protestants. They were protesting against the ones who were like the Roman Catholics. But they were royalty. And they were bringing in paganism to the family. And so you had this war within the family of these ancient Protestants and then these Roman Catholics who were bringing in what we know today as Catholicism, which is paganism, ultimately the worship of the devil. That's what was going on in the families. Then you ultimately have the act of settlement that would not allow a person that was a Catholic, meaning Roman Catholic, to sit on the throne. Because King James, he believed in what we call Catholic, but Catholic means universal. That's what it means. It means at its core, it means universal. He wasn't talking about Catholic in the sense of the Roman Catholic Church. He hated the Pope. He hated the Pope. He hated him. Then he goes on and said, this had the effect of deposing the descendants of Charles I, other than his Protestant granddaughter, Princess later Queen Anne, as the next Protestant in line to the throne. As the next Protestant in line to the throne was the Electress Sophia of Hanover, a granddaughter of James VI and I, who we know as King James. After her, the crowns would descend only to her non-Catholic heirs. And this is still in effect today. This is still in effect today. It's still in effect. That's why they be trying to confuse people. These folks right here, yeah, there were some family issues, but they don't give you a right to oppose their royal ecclesiastical policy. They don't give you a right to do that. Let me see. I thought I had it up. I think it was telling me the same thing. Let me see real fast. Y'all give me a second. Yeah, let me bring this up real fast and we'll read it. Thought I had it up, I guess not. Let me close this out real fast. Let me see. No, I have it up. Yeah, we're gonna read it real fast. Okay, in a sermon preached at Hampton Court on September 30th, 1606, John King proclaimed that our Solomon or Pacifus liveth. James I had turned swords into scythes and spears into mattocks, and set peace within the borders of his own kingdoms and of nations about us. His care for the church and maintenance to it was celebrated. All that remained was for his subject to lay aside contentious matters and join with his religious majesty in propagation of the gospel and faith of Christ. The sermon was the last in a series of 4 preached and later printed at the king's behest before an unwilling audience of Scottish Presbyterians. The quartet outlined James standing as a ruler by divine right and laid down the conceptual foundation of the Jacobean Church. They didn't want to hear it. They didn't want to hear it. Because he was saying, hey, I have the divine right to rule, and my lineage has the divine right to rule in the gospel and the faith of Christ. And then that's what they were rebelling against. That's what the Puritans were rebelling against. And they were using what was going on when King James was fighting against the Roman Catholics and the ones that were bringing in the paganism. They used that as an excuse. Oh, we want to get out of here so we can have religious freedoms. It was never really about, well, yeah, it was about religious freedoms, but not in the sense of through the gospel and faith of Christ. They wanted their gospel and their Christ and do things the way that they wanted to do. In the same way, you have these people that are talking about giving us $100 million, we're going to do it the way that we want to do. When in actuality, it's a distraction, and they're using white supremacy as a cover, the ones that are really pulling the strings. The people at Harvard probably don't know this. Some of them probably do because they got the books and stuff like that. But most of them don't even know what's going on. Now, we go over here. And this is some stuff I saved a while ago. This is from this website, Bomb and Rare Books. All they do is they sell rare books. They have in the front of this book actual portrait of King James. Completely different from what you see when you go online. King James. It's in that book, The Works of the Most High and Mighty Prince James. What a lot of people don't tell you is when they talk about this stuff, I ain't saying everybody, but a lot of your Hebrews and your Hebrew Israelites, when they talk about this stuff, ultimately they got it from this ministry. I'm going to prove it to you. I'm not mad to that extent, but I know what's up. I know what's up. Now, this is the actual PDF. You can download it, and you can see it in there. Now we go here. I'll give my internet a second. Moving slow. Come on now. You have this book called Leviathan, written by Thomas Hobbes. This is the original cover of it. This is the original cover. This is King James' son. He has some thing going on. He didn't make it. We're gonna put it like that. He didn't make it. This is the original cover of the book. I think I saved the whole Wikipedia article. I know how they like to change stuff. Matter of fact, let's jump over here and see if they did change it. Let's see, Leviathan. Did I type it right? Wikipedia. Let me see. It's Thomas Hobbes. Let's see if they changed it. Okay, it's still up there. Still up there. All right, going back to what I was saying. Computer moving slow as y'all see, so y'all bear with me. We go to our next point, and this is an email that's old. Go over here to it. Show you the email that I sent. Let me see. Okay. May 9th, 2017. Good day. I was wondering if you could help me locate the book in the following link. Thank you kindly. That's the book you just seen. I showed you. 2017. People don't want to give credit, but hey, I got the receipts, as they say. You got to give credit. I know what's up. Now, if I can move this out the way, what is showing? Let me see. So they responded and they said, yes, we have sold 2 copies of the 1616 works of King or Prince James over the past several years. This is a high demand item. I wonder why. Which is no surprise when you consider that the King James Bible is the most printed, most loved, and most influential book in the history of civilization. With first edition of that 1611 Bible fetching hundreds of thousands of dollars, and this printing of the complete works of King James published just 5 years later in 1616 is the only such edition of his other efforts. In past years, depending upon the condition of the book and the elaborateness of the binding, these very rare 1616 printings have sold for as little as 6,500 and as much as 12,000. That is actually quite surprising itself, as one might expect that book to fetch 5 times that amount, but the market says otherwise. This is one reason why I want to be successful at real estate, so I can buy these books. I can buy these expensive books that have hidden nuggets, because it's more evidence. It's more evidence. They're able to do it. That's how they know all this stuff. And then he pretty much tells me, hey, when you're serious, get with us. Now you can pause it and read it, but I just want you to see that. It's not something I'm making up. No reason to. That's a close-up of King James' son. It's a close-up of King James' son. That's the cover of it again. And this is what they changed it to today. This is what it is today. Leviathan. Thomas Hobbes. Seem like they continue to do this, don't they? This is it in a color image. As you see, it was changed. And this is a blurry copy of a book titled King James VI and I, 1, and the Reunion of Christendom. W.B. Patterson. This is another picture of King James. And then you have this book right here, King James and Papal Opposition. He stood against the Roman Catholic Church. And that's one I can't find. And that's just another image of him, his son. This is another page I saved where they were talking about it. I think they had it on display. Yeah, they have the King James Demonology book that I have myself, and they had his works, the same book, showing you that that image is in there. This is the actual book. They know all this. And that's the same thing. Same thing. Another image, just a close up. Another image. The book itself with King James decked out. Another image of the book. And you have Elizabeth of Bohemia, daughter of King James, wife of Frederick V, Elector Palatine, Holy Roman Empire. We discussed that before in regards to what they mean by Roman Empire. Go back and watch those videos. That's his daughter. Always something dealing with the nose, ain't it? You have Edward VI, coming from that same lineage. And you can see. I think that was yeah, that was it. You see. That's a better image, showing it more clear. Another image. Yeah, that's it. Now we go over here, and this is why it's an issue. It mentioned Harvard's endowment, right? Harvard's endowment soars to $53.2 billion. But they're talking about $100 and no direct reparations. Harvard Management Company returned 33.6% on its investments for the fiscal year ending in June 2021, skyrocketing the value of the university's endowment to $53.2 billion, the largest sum in its history, and an increase of $11.3 billion from the previous fiscal year. They're still making money off of it. That's why that whole thing, $100 million, is bullshit. It's a sham. Let me go down here, and it says, this person wrote in his announcement that public and private equity markets were the main drivers behind the endowment's tremendous returns. The endowment's public and private equity assets boasted 50% and 77% return respectively. This y'all money right here. They don't get to make this money without making that money from the slaves unrighteously and then reinvesting it to grow Harvard into what it was and then what it became today. All this is a result of what happened way back then. They want you to forget that. Oh, don't worry about this. Just, we're gonna handle it. You will know a tree by its fruit. A tree grows up and then it brings forth the fruit later. Therefore, you can't say we're gonna issue an apology. Or we're going to take 100 million and then we're going to do this and do that. 100 million from 53.2 billion? And it grew during what? This time period. I ain't going to say it, but you see it. The change-o. It grew during this time period, just like everybody else. The world has become rich off of us because of our downfall. The endowment distributed just over $2 billion toward the university's operating budget, which represents 39% of Harvard's annual revenue sources, according to the report. The university ended fiscal year 2021 with a $238 million operational surplus, which included revenue from endowment. They was in the plus. And it's grown, shot up around the same time of what? They made a killing. There was something else I wanted y'all to see. Let me scroll through it real fast. It says, in the first days of the change-o, experts speculated that the you know what could leave Harvard's endowment in grave condition. Their concern did not materialize. Let's see. Let me scroll through something. Where is it at? Okay. In 2018, HMC formed a risk tolerance group in order to assess how the endowment could take on more risk while balancing Harvard's financial positioning and need for budgetary stability. Under this person's leadership, HMC has dramatically reduced its assets in natural resources, real estate markets, and public equity, while increasing its exposure to hedge funds and private equity. Real estate. They doing all type of real estate and all this stuff. Let me see. There you go, right there. The university's endowment has drawn scrutiny in recent years for its size and for its ties to the fossil fuel industry, to the what? Prison industrial complex, and to Puerto Rican debt. Prison industrial complex. I ain't even got to go there. They know what's up. They know what's up. Now, what is an endowment? Endowment is action of endowing. It comes from endow and mint, property with which an institution or person is endowed. Provide an income for. Bestow or portion. Marriage portion. To give. Okay, who are they providing an income for? With 53.2 billion. Are they providing an income to the people that they use and didn't give what was due to them to get to that point of having 53.2 billion? Who are they providing an income for? Because the show ain't us. We shouldn't even have to work. I think we know the answer to that question. That's why I told you this whole thing, this Harvard thing, it's a sham. It's a sham. Now we go over here and we look at the website, Harvard Management Company. Harvard's endowment is a dedicated and permanent source of funding that maintains the teaching and research mission of the university. Established in 1974, Harvard Management Company invests these funds as a single entity, the revenue from which contributes more than 1/3 of the university's annual operating budget. Made up of more than 14,000 individual funds invested as a single entity, 14,000 individual funds. To me, that means they're investing in 14,000 different things. You can do that when you got all that money, don't you? Can't you? The endowment's return have enabled leading financial aid programs, groundbreaking discoveries, and scientific research because they got the money to do it. And then they make more money off of that, and hundreds of professorships across a wide range of academic fields, meaning that they are educating the people that are the professors that are telling you, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Even though we do, because I went up against some of them, and you know about that. Well, some of you do. You went up against professors, and professors were coming against you? Some of you know what I'm talking about. But you know, I get the financial aid they're providing with this. They got this library with all these books, scientific advancement. You know, they're looking into the DNA. Even tells you if you read it. Researchers from the Harvard John A. Paulson School of Engineering and Applied Sciences and the Weiss Institute of Biologically Inspired Engineering have developed new wound dressings that dramatically accelerate healing and improve tissue regeneration. Now we're dealing with what? DNA manipulation and stuff like that. They're involved in that because they know what's up. They got the books. Those books you wish you could have access to see what's in there, that they're hiding stuff. I know they're hiding stuff, but what we have currently is enough. Because all we're going to do is get those books when they eventually come out and be like, oh yeah, we already knew this. Now there will be little nuggets and everything that you can take from it. But overall, the truth is still the truth. And we've been able to figure it out with not even having not as many resources as they have. Then they got art, artifacts that prove certain points, and you know what I'm saying, that's worth money that they can sell or whatever, and open libraries and open museums and all this other stuff to get the people to side with them. Now, why does all of this matter? Psalms 83. Keep not thou silence, O God, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off. Come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee, all the nations, even our own people, the tabernacles of Edom, and the Ishmaelites, Arabs, of Moab, and the Hagarenes, Gebal, and Ammon, and Amalek, the Philistines, with the inhabitants of Tyre. Assur also is joined with them. They have holpen the children of Lot. Selah, they have strengthened the children of Lot. And we know about the Gentiles are also now in bed with them, confederate against God, confederate against us, consulted together with one consent. This is what it boils down to. This is why they doing that. Are we gonna give 100 million, but we're gonna do it the way we want to do it, and then we're not gonna give you any direct reparations? Me personally, if you gave me reparations, I ain't gonna say I ain't gonna take it, but it ain't gonna stop me from doing what I do. You gonna give me my reparations if you give it to me now, and you're gonna give me everything else that we read about in the scriptures earlier. If you got a problem with it, then you know what's up. So with that being said, God bless each and every one of you in Jesus Christ's name. As always, stay focused for Jesus. As you know, the truth is not debated, it is declared. If you have not seen the outro video, make sure you stay for that.